It's Sunday. It's 6 o'clock. You know what that means. It's time for another episode of the Marks Podcast. Now, I know it's episode 6, Gerard.
No.
7, whatever. It's an episode. We're here. We're doing stuff.
Is it episode 7 o'clock on the East Coast, brother.
Well, to be fair, it's 6 here.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Daylight savings.
I know that y'all were expecting Monty from Monty and the Pharaoh. But, tragically, he was assaulted by Mario Mancini and Paul Roma outside of an IHOP.
I thought it was Whataburger.
Or maybe a Whataburger.
Yeah.
I mean, look, he's just having a bad week, man. The Dodgers won, hey. But we're lucky enough to have Benny from Benny and Dan. What's going on, Benny?
Glad to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Also, my co-hosts, Gerard, the Inside Man, Millet, and Jacob, the modern-day Maharaja, whatever the fuck he's calling himself this week.
Yeah.
And, gentlemen, we're going to talk about some crown jewels.
Oh, yeah, it was great. It was beautiful.
Good.
What was it?
Before I get to that, I want to ask you guys a question.
Shoot.
To get to this is going to coincide with yesterday. WWE loses their. Everybody in the world talks about creative direction. Okay? Seeing that, Benny, you're the guest tonight. I'm going to throw this question to you first.
Oh, shit.
What do you change with production after what you saw yesterday?
I don't know that you really change anything. I mean, it wasn't. I mean, if I was a college professor, I'd give that maybe a C plus. It was passing, but it was far from what they could have done. I guess. I think it was kind of a placeholder. I was actually disappointed. I thought they could do a lot better.
But isn't that what Crown Jewel has been? Like, I haven't.
Yeah, you're right.
It's every Saudi show.
Fucking, look, I don't watch them usually because of I'm very strong with the whole Saudi blood money. When you kill a fucking reporter, I'm not trying to support that. When you're a fucking culture that doesn't allow women to drive and there's public stonings, I kind of I'm going to turn my head to that. But, so who's to say? You pull a fucking truckload of money to my door, I'm not going to fucking dance around in a diaper for you. Fuck, I don't know.
What do they get? 50 mil a pop? I think.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, something like that.
So,
a lot of money.
with the production aspect of it yesterday, guys, and Benny, you'll probably be able to understand this more than Jacob and this guy here, Dan. One of the glaring production aspects, things that came to me yesterday, you guys know I've mentioned it a little bit before, but to me yesterday, the referees yesterday were brutal. They were all out of whack. The camera angles for the referees yesterday were brutal. The opening match, the referee he went down for the 3. And I don't know if it's because of the way they do the filming now.
Hold on, time out, Gerard. Time out. I can't completely throw it in the referee because Jimmy was supposed to have his ass in there. Look, you got a spot. You got to get your ass in there, right?
The referee needs to find a way. Before he went down for the 3 count, he needs to be looking to see where that guy is.
I got sand in my eye. Oh God!
Yeah, do something.
Well, he totally stopped the count to look for him. So
that's what. So you hear what you just said? The referee stopped the count. No, I don't care if you trip going in for the count. Do something to where you delay that thing. But my question, and when I say the production part of it, have the cameras gotten too good to where we now pick up all those spots that used to be missed? Or have the referees taking a step back to where nowadays we see all those mistakes?
I think it's more of like the referees are either too involved or not involved enough. In the case of WWE, you have a referee like Jessica Carr who doesn't get in the way and she's great at her job.
You just think she's hot, so that's why you're always complimentary.
I don't think she's hot. I don't think she's hot per se.
Hold on. I'm going to ask one who's not biased. Benny, what do you think? What do you think about this referee situation?
I don't know any of them by name, so I think that's maybe a good thing because we really should know them.
You can be unbiased, unlike my counterpart over here who's looking at her ass the whole time. But go ahead.
Right. I don't really much of an ass. There was a shitload of blown spots, though. There's no shortage of that.
Well, and the worst part of that, when Gerard just mentioned about the cameras being too good, there's kind of something to be said because during the women's tag team match, there was a spot where Lash Legend, and I don't know what our other tag team partners, something Jackson. I don't know. They did the
Chikara?
spot. Yeah, they did this spot where they had it was like a power bomb spot, and they totally just threw Kairi Sane just like up into the air. And Kairi Sane's a professional, so she knew what to do. But like literally just threw her, and she just took a bump by her. So like she basically power bombed herself. And they replayed it at the end of the match. They're like, "Oh, look at this great spot!" And then they totally just showed the whole spot. And at least with Kevin Dunn being gone, there's not all these fucking camera angles and all these cuts. You know, that's
there's new camera angles. Like there's new camera angles. Like I said, when they bring out the
I kind of like that though. I don't like the ref cam. The ref cam is fucking stupid. I don't know who came up with that. Whoever came up with that is fucking dumb. But I like the cam from the side, from the turnbuckle. I kind of like, the aerial shots that they got going on. Some of that's pretty cool. I don't think they should overexpose it though.
And when I'm watching it yesterday, and for the production aspect, I understand you're in Saudi Arabia, okay? But with the amount of money Saudi Arabia is paying you, you have no excuse not to have your production. I mean, how many times? There was times yesterday I'm texting Jacob saying, "Is Vince McMahon producing this show today?" Because that's what I felt like it was. It felt like a Vince production yesterday.
Well, it is his son-in-law.
Well, but I don't want to listen. I don't want to have his name anywhere near it, though.
I'm just saying. You give all this shit to AEW, but at least their production is looking a lot better than that shit last night, and they're not getting paid $30 million.
Come on, don't talk about AEW's production now. When you can hear at the end of the show, you can hear camera cues and stuff.
There was more people in that building last night in Saudi Arabia than people watch Collision. So
I've never been to Saudi Arabia, but
I was about to say,
Saudi Arabia.
It's on my bucket list, though.
Yeah. Benny, if you ever want to go, we can go to Saudi Arabia.
I want to go first class, though.
Yeah. We'll fly Spirit.
$40,000.
Well, and it's just these Saudi shows in general really don't matter, but like I would have to think that someone out there in Saudi Arabia is happy about this because, they were peddling
Jacob, they don't know shit. The first Saudi show they did, they wanted, he goes, "Can we get fucking the Ultimate Warrior and Yokozuna?"
Yeah. But they have the whole WWE experience thing there, and like they were showing off this big like facility, and I'm just like, why do they have that in Saudi Arabia, bro?
Because you know what? Money.
Well, they're probably making a lot of money for it, but it's just like, damn, dude, none of this shit matters in the long run. But it's just like when you watch these shows.
Speaking of something that might matter to some people, right? And because y'all two keep talking over the guest, I'm going to give him the opportunity to fucking answer this. Benny, some people took some umbrage with the fact that Roman Reigns was the first fucking match. What do you think?
I was surprised to see that, and my biggest issue was these belts, the two championship belts. And who gives a shit about them?
Yep.
Well, if you
look at what happens with those belts. I mean, do they stay there?
They're staying rings. They got rings. Experience. They got
a ring. Oh wow, okay.
That's what I'm saying. It means something to someone, And those, I mean, I like the look of those belts. Those belts aren't bad looking, but
I didn't realize how big
they're huge. Yeah, they're fucking huge. I didn't know that. But it's just the same. It's the same thing with that green fucking monstrosity that they gave to Braun Strowman that one year.
I expected that match to be next to last, and then Cody Gunther to be last, or even that match to be last.
Yeah.
The layout of the matches wasn't a problem to me. The story that was told last night was a definite problem to me. I understand you're doing it for the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. They're paying you $50 million, okay? But a lot of the storyline that went along with some of these matches last night, the buildup, did not meet the expectation of that. And the one thing that really got to me is that you have your heel women's world champion leaving that building last night as a babyface. How do you have your heel?
That's my wife. The women's match should have been on first, just to get it out of the way.
Which one?
You're talking about Nia Jax leaving, or
No.
Liv rather? Okay,
Liv.
They're
No,
both
at the
heel.
end of the night, when she gets in the ring with Cody Rhodes, and you got the two princes, and I don't know what the women were behind them. I don't know what you call them, so I can't call them.
I was like, who are those? Yeah, I was like, who were those women?
Okay. I thought it was watching on, the Beastmaster where he had to, his women there. But I'm saying is, you have your biggest heel woman wrestler right now leave as a babyface riding in the golf cart with Cody Rhodes to go to the WWE experience.
Well, maybe that's why she won, because Nia Jax couldn't fit.
She would have put the wheelie in the golf cart.
And here, I figure out that's probably why Jessica Carr wasn't there, because she got squished by Nia Jax and she took the night off. I saw that. It's like that. I felt so bad. We talked about it on the show. I felt so bad when that happened to her. It was terrible.
So let me ask you about this. We're going back to the first match. Solo went over. I agree with the decision. I think that's how it should have played out.
Absolutely, 100%.
I think that I think Roman needed to take the pin. It doesn't do anything to Roman's credibility at all, in my opinion. But I think Solo needed that win, because with the rise of Jacob Fatu has really put fucking Solo in a position where he's looked weak, and that's just my opinion.
He looks terrible next to Jacob Fatu. It's not even like a comparison, and it's kind of unfortunate that they're probably I think they're trying to drag this out till WrestleMania.
I love you, Solo.
Yeah, Jacob Fatu is the shit, but
I hope
they don't drag it out.
Yesterday, when the referee first of all, he messed it up on the count because they were supposed to come in and save Roman. Then he takes the bump. Then it works right back around, and they end the match the exact same way. I'm like, okay, why did you just let Roman take the pin right then and there? You didn't need to add all that extra guga if you're still going to go right back to the same finish.
There's always room for some gabagool. Right? There's always room for some gabagool.
Always.
But and that was the one thing to me. I understand letting Roman take the fall. I get it. Then after the thing's over, you have Sami Zayn come down, which to me, Sami Zayn should have came down and cost them the match. That would have been a lot better if Sami cost him the match, because he gets in there, goes for the haluva kick on Solo, hits Roman Reigns.
Hurt intentionally.
When the referee's knocked out. Now Solo just falls right on top of Roman. 1, 2, 3.
Did you guys see what people were saying on Twitter that like Corey Graves said when Sami Zayn was out there? Like, people were freaking out about that on Twitter.
What did he say?
Well, they were saying because Sami Zayn came out, and then Corey Graves on commentary, he's like, yeah, Sami Zayn, he never misses an opportunity to virtue signal. And then everyone on Twitter was like, "Oh, he's making it political. Oh, Corey Graves is a piece of shit."
Joe, bro, like, see, that's the thing. That's the thing about Twitter that fucking drives me nuts. Go ahead, Benny. Were you going to say something, Benny?
No, I'm just listening to you guys.
So this is a horse shit, right? Look, the guy came out there. He's part of the fucking storyline. Like, lest we forget, 2 years ago, it was all fucking do it for Sammy. Sammy had that fucking epic match with Roman where they thought for a second there thought he could take it. It was going to be Sammy and Cody at WrestleMania. Right. Whatever may be, he's part of this. He's entwined with all of this bloodline storyline. No matter what you do, chop it up. He is there. We wouldn't have lines like he's not feeling Usi, which, look, that shit got over. It got over like a motherfucker. You can't end this on the other side without Sammy having his take. If I have to guess, I'm not a fucking insider like fucking Gerard. I'm not a fucking podcaster pretty much like Benny, but and I'm not fucking youth, so I'm not fucking Jacob. But at the end of the day, to bring this story to a happy conclusion, everybody's got to come out the other side. I truly believe what's going to happen is they're going to have a little bit of a beef between Sammy and everybody. Roman and them are going to get together, and they're going to end up being in fucking war games. Sammy's going to be with the old bloodline.
100%. Yep. No doubt about it.
I just wonder, like, where does Sammy like go from here after all this ends, or like what's the after we get to the conclusion? I wonder where all these people go from here, because I don't know where Roman goes after this, so it's very.
Well, did you notice that Roman kind of looked like very lackadaisical and lost. And I'm sure they're going to capitalize on that on Friday night. I would not be surprised to see Paul Heyman come back in the next couple of weeks.
Absolutely.
I hope so.
I'll put it like this, okay, guys? I think you guys can understand. This is where them cutting out the house shows has really come into play. These guys don't have time anymore because this match right here might have been played out on a house show, so they could have worked it a little bit better. By not doing house shows that much anymore, that's where the house shows, you used to get that timing down. If you were going to mess up something, hey, we did it in a house show so nobody saw it on television.
It's a double-edged sword, though, Gerard, because, like, you know, you eliminate those house shows, a lot of these guys are happier because they get to spend that time with their family and they get to get looser and they get to finally that work does not become
product in the ring. But the product in the ring, when I say you get one take, now you only get that one take to get it right. Where at the house shows, if you had 3 house shows, let's say you did 3 house shows before this show, okay? Any little problems you could have doing this thing, you already got it done. So now when you get to the television, it comes across much smoother. I'm
sure you'll blame AEW for the lack of house shows in WWE because they are the one.
I know. Listen, that's what I say. The production value that I'm watching right now because of the lack of house shows, where these guys aren't as crisp as they used to be, it's totally affecting the in-ring work. Totally doing.
Gerard, how many times a year are these guys wrestling now?
So let's just say, so you got 52 weeks of Raw.
Right.
So what are we up to? 75 maybe now? When before it was over 200?
I mean, the schedule before was like 200. We had Tito Santana on the podcast.
300.
The guy wrestled like
300 days a year.
Yeah, like almost every night.
Well, and him especially, I would believe it because he was probably looking up at the lights most of the time.
Well, Benny, look at it like this. When I was working there, we had 10 and 3. 10 days off, 3 days on. 10 days off, 3 days on. So what's that? That's 20 plus days a month.
Yeah, okay? You're probably doing 250 a year, easy.
250. Now you're down to maybe 75 dates a year. So
that's a good point, Gerard. Though you're right because though like you're wrestling in Binghamton, New York, you could try that shit out, and if it if you botch something, who's going to see it?
Well, and NXT was running house shows for a little bit, like out of like high school gyms and shit like that, like in the local Florida area. And now they don't do that pretty much at all, as far as I'm concerned. And then the house shows now, and as Gerard said, like it gives people more time to practice and get more reps in. Like we just had
Jade Cargill. That's the one thing Jade Cargill was missing. Yeah, she didn't get the reps.
Well, we just had people like Indy Hartwell and Tegan Knox get released, and say what you want about the two of them, but they were never on TV or like they never did anything.
Right.
If you would have put some of them on house shows, that like these people.
Sorry about that. Y'all know my internet shit once a day.
Yeah, you had a great freeze frame though. Like when that crashed out, it was great. Yeah,
Benny, I'll put it like this: there was one time we did shows, right?
I'm sure you enjoyed every bit of it.
We started Madison Square Garden, went up to Albany. We hit MSG, Albany, Utica, Syracuse, Rochester, Niagara Falls, all in the same week. Okay? By the time we hit Niagara Falls, it was a cage match every night. That cage match every night, they had that so figured out.
Right.
And that's the thing when it comes to that. Today's these guys, I want to be home with my family. Listen,
and again,
they're making 10 times what they made before, and they're working 10 times less.
It's a nice thing if you can get it,
No, listen. Don't get me wrong. Absolutely. If I could work a quarter of what I used to work and make 5 times more money, absolutely. But
I mean, like nowadays, pretty much WWE it's making the most money it ever has, and it's probably the safest it's ever been because there's no house shows and shit like that. Guys aren't really getting injured as less.
But to be fair, is it safe because there's no house shows? Because you can get hurt at any time.
No, that's true. But it's more like
you can wrestle 100 matches and never get hurt in just that one fucking match. Case in point, Bret Hart never hurt anybody. He wrestles one match with fucking Goldberg, gets his fucking block knocked off, and he's fucked for life.
Well, he'll tell you all about it.
He has short-term memory. At least you think he does.
Well, and I look. and we've talked about it before. I'm not a fan of Goldberg. Probably never will be a fan of Goldberg because I felt like he was there for the money, and I don't fault him for that. But you cost a guy's career, a guy who's a legend, who's done everything, and the way he went out was horrible. I guess I'd be bitter about that too.
So,
well, I mean, look at Goldberg gets to go to Saudi Arabia and make all this money. Bret Hart's, sitting on his porch in Canada.
Bret got sued by Lords of London for doing a fucking show with Vince, doing WrestleMania with Vince because they said it was too real.
Yeah, it's like Bret's just, sad in, Ontario, Canada. Goldberg's retiring in 2025 too. That was announced during Crown Jewel.
Who's he wrestling?
We go from that 6-man tag to an 8-woman tag. Was it good to go like that?
No, I mean, well, if had I not been streaming, I probably would have used that time to take a shit. That probably would have been because it would have been perfectly timed, because you had that match and then you had the end match. But in all seriousness, I'm glad that they at least try to feature the women as much as they do, but it's like, I totally forgot that there were women's tag team titles. I had a realization during that match. I'm like, oh, these are for the tag team titles. I'm like, oh, shit, there's tag team titles in the women's division.
What do you think of that one, Benny?
I hated it. I mean, it was just a botch fest. And the person I feel bad for, and I talked to Mike Monty about this on the phone today, is Bianca Belair. I mean, superb athlete. She's really
excellent.
She's having to carry Jade Cargill so that Jade Cargill isn't exposed for the fact that she's, greener than a goose.
Let me ask you this. Since she's come to WWE, do you think she's gotten better?
Cargill? Mm-hmm. Hard to tell. She doesn't really get much, she's not in there that much.
Well, let me ask you this. Y'all know this shit better than I do. I mean, I can admit that. Fucking when she was in AEW, she was booked like a fucking monster. She was that bitch.
She was Goldberg.
I liked her there, and she had some decent matches. The shit with Statlander was good. The shit she had with fucking Red Velvet was good. And when they thought she was going to lose, she would find a way to fucking just overpower and win. What was wrong with that Jade Cargill? What's so different from AEW's in ring to WWE's that you can't?
My opinion is, WWE, like back in the day when I was young, you had a guy like Mario Mancini who, dropped the match in a minute and a half. But I mean, the guy had a purpose. Superstar Billy Graham would beat up Frankie Williams and Mancini and all the other enhancement
talent.
Just to
hey, you will not talk ill of the great Mario Mancini. He's running
right, but I mean, the whole idea was Billy Graham didn't have to work hard. He squashed the guy in a minute and a half. None of his weaknesses were exposed.
Benny,
that's what they should do with Jade Cargill.
Hey, what did Randy Savage once tell a jobber? A jobber once went to Randy Savage and said, "Thank you for the match." Randy turned to that guy and said, "No, thank you. It's because of guys like you make me look good."
So I think is this a case where Jade was carried to all of her best outings, and is she is she going to be Goldberg or is she going to be Ahmed Johnson? It's like it's pretty.
That's a hell of a fucking jump.
Like it's true though, because I think that they were going to break up Jade and Bianca a month ago, and because Jade hasn't been progressing, that they've dragged this out, and now it's become like Benny said, it's kind of dragging Bianca down because now they're trying to make Jade look on the same level as Bianca, and it's not. It's just not there. I don't know what it is. It's like I think AEW's presentation of her was right, but I also think I don't know. I think it's weird with Jade. She does have a presence, but it's more like it's.
If Rhea and Charlotte aren't hurt right now, is Jade Cargill still with Bianca?
I think that has something. I think that probably is part of it.
I'll raise another question to you. What the fuck do you do with fucking Bianca right now, anyway?
Well, I thought that even a month ago they would have, one of them would have turned heel, and that's your match for WrestleMania 41,
Royal Rumble. You'll see that happen at Royal Rumble.
See, okay, so I disagree with you because what I think is going to happen. What happened in the last Royal Rumble? Jade Cargill went in there and fucking woman handled fucking Nia Jax, picked her big ass up, threw her out the fucking ring. I think that's your fucking. She has the belt right now. I think it's going to be Jade versus fucking Nia Jax. I think they're going to go.
No, the reason why I say Royal Rumble, because Royal Rumble leads into the Elimination Chamber. In Elimination Chamber, you'll have Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair in the same Elimination Chamber, where one of the two has to eliminate the other one.
Fair.
Well, I feel like it has to be a situation where, because I think Bianca should be a heel anyways, but it'll be a situation.
That kills me because in NXT she played a fucking excellent heel. She had one of her best. She had one of her best matches. I want to say was it? She didn't turn face until she had her match with fucking Shayna Baszler, and people saw that was such a great. That was what turned me around on her. I thought she was just another generic fucking cookie cutter ass fucking Monet fucking Sasha Banks clone with muscles. I saw her in that match with fucking Shayna Baszler, and I was okay. This is some shit right here. I like this.
Before we go any further, you know who stole that four-way last night? Chelsea Green stole that.
Yes.
Chelsea.
Stinky pants, Chelsea Green.
It's kind of unfortunate because Chelsea Green is so much. I was saying it during my show. She's so much better than everyone in the ring when it comes to character work, and maybe her and Bianca, because Bianca's pretty good too. But Chelsea Green is just
she's the queen of the death match. Well, and she was given that title because of her husband, but she's the queen of the death match.
What did you think of her performance last night, Benny?
She was great. The problem is that there's too many of them at the same time. With 8 people in the ring, it's hard for anybody to stand out.
She did her job, though. I'll give her.
No, she did a great job.
And another big gal, another monster that doesn't get the credit for her fucking versatility. Fucking Piper Niven, man. Piper Niven.
Oh yeah.
Fucking
very underrated.
And she's look, I don't care, but a lot of people talk shit, and I'll fucking be a fucking look. Cody Rhodes talked about this, and I'm sure we'll talk about this at some point. It's a fucking oogling fucking business. You're supposed to look at people, right? You can body shame whoever the fuck you want. You're deciding to have your ass on.
Piper Niven's cute. I'd Piper her Niven.
That's what I'm saying. Piper Niven is not hard in the eyes, man. I love you. Please don't yell at me.
Yeah.
But so the one part of that match I really enjoyed was with all the girls going over, and I'm like, okay, where's Jade Cargill? You had everybody going over that rope. Somebody gets thrown back into the ring for her to kick her, and I'm like, they should have found a way to have her do something over the rope like everybody else did.
Well, I feel like there's a reason why she hasn't had one singles match yet, and I feel like that they keep putting her in these tag team matches, and it's like she hasn't had a singles match yet at all.
Look, they're gonna have to pull the trigger, all right? Because what I saw, and I heard y'all kind of talking about it when I bounced it back, was you got fucking Baron Corbin's gone, Tegan Knox is gone. And my favorite, that fucking Australian
Indy Hartwell.
Love Indy Hartwell.
I love Indy Hartwell.
Who's your favorite? You don't even know her name.
I just went blank for a second. Anyway,
they're just not getting their contracts renewed.
No, they let go the 2 females. They're letting Baron Corbin right out of shit. What bothers me is both of those girls. Don't get me wrong. Tegan Knox has been fucking plagued with injuries for the fucking last couple of years. It's been shit. And it sucks for her. It really does. She's amazing and the shiniest wizard. The girl is good.
Her knees probably look like my liver.
But what I'm saying is she's been around long enough and she's done. She can get a job anywhere else. Anybody like TNA will pick her up. AEW will pick her up. Fucking MLW. Somebody will pick up Tegan Knox. Indy Hartwell just for the fucking name recognition. They'll pick her up. And fucking Baron Corbin. Look, in the last couple of years, that Happy Corbin gimmick, the fucking bum, the bum Corbin.
Good riddance. I'm sorry, Dan.
Listen, his best storyline was with JBL. When JBL was in that ring with him,
whatever. I can't with you with that.
JBL himself, when JBL came out and basically he did everything except piss in Baron Corbin's mouth when he came out there. He's like, you can't polish a turd. and he basically destroyed Baron
His
Corbin.
best gimmick was the fucking lone wolf in NXT. Dude,
No, his best gimmick when he was a bum and he had that dirty shirt and he was walking around. And
look, man, I'm tired of comic gimmicks, man. Like I miss an age of badasses, man. Like this bullshit that everybody's got to have a comedy gimmick. What the fuck?
I don't think Baron Corbin was ever a badass though. Like with his baldy and stringy long hair.
Perfect example. In NXT, he played the lone wolf character. It was fucking that end of days finisher was fucking awesome. Nobody kicked out of it until fucking Roman Reigns or whoever kicked the fuck out of it.
It was Drew.
Drew McIntyre kicked out of the fucking end of days. But another guy that got fucked, Leo Kruger. He was a fucking South African mercenary character, and I love that fucking character. I like, and they turned him into fucking Rosebud.
Adam Rose.
Yeah,
and that was trash. Oh, we need a fucking pole dancing gimmick, or we need a guy running around talking about assholes because that's a fucking slang name for an asshole. It's a rosebud. It's the shit made no sense to me. You have fucking 5-star shit in NXT. Dusty was involved in that shit. Fucking Triple H was involved with that. Hell, Shawn Michaels involved with it. It gets the main roster, and now we have assholes. I never understand that kind of booking.
So we go from the 8-woman tag. What was after the 8-woman's tag now? I'm trying to remember.
What was after it?
Yeah.
I think wasn't it Randy and KO?
No.
No.
That was before the main event.
It was Rollins and fucking Bronson, wasn't it?
Yeah, Rollins and Bronson Reed. I will say I thought we had a Hogan Andre finish off the bat. I thought we were gonna have a quick bam, done. And it actually turned into be an entertaining match.
That was my match of the night, to be honest with you.
Other than, listen, Bronson Reed, Benny, you'll understand this, looked like a walking Pac-Man machine last night, though. The outfit he had on, I thought I was looking at a Pac-Man game, console. I'm like, dude, why would you?
I don't give a fuck. That Pac-Man machine would have kicked your ass. That motherfucker was on a mission.
Listen, he looked like the game.
I thought it was cool because he was wearing an MF Doom tribute like attire too. So I thought it was cool.
I thought he looked great as a monster. I thought that the only issue I had with that match was that he should have gone over.
Absolutely.
It doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt.
Thanks for saying that. I'm glad you said that.
It doesn't fucking hurt Rollins to take a loss here because Rollins has been a multi-time champion. Rollins has done everything he needs to do as far as getting his name over and being he's architect. He got fuckers singing they're not going to stop singing his fucking song because he lost one match. But you have a guy in Bronson Reed who is the fucking future. He is definitely going to be, he is going to be a champion. He's going to be a world champion. He's going to be something. And he's not since the times of fucking Bam Bam Bigelow have I seen a guy like that who moves as well as fucking Bronson Reed. The fucking off the rope, the tsunami, it looks devastating. It is comparative to the fucking bonsai drop. And I'm not talking about the fucking annihilator that Nia Jax does, that half-ass, oh God, it's going to swallow her in your butt crack. I'm talking about Yokozuna coming off that second rope. That tsunami drop that fucking Bronson Reed does, it looks like it breaks a motherfucker in half.
Right.
And for Seth Rollins, I super curb stomped him. Edward Norton would be so proud of me right now and wins the match. That's I don't agree with that.
Benny, if you had your choice by looking at Bronson Reed or a Bam Bam Bigelow or even a King Kong Bundy, who would you take?
I was a huge fan of Bigelow. I love Bam Bam Bigelow. I mean, but I think Bronson Reed has a lot of upside potential. I really do think he should have went over last night. Seth did not need that win. Bronson needed that win.
See,
for sure. And can Seth go away? Like for real, I can.
I don't dislike Seth. I don't.
Here's the thing, Seth. For me, he got to a point where he was on TV almost every. It was during the time he did that whole Messiah gimmick, and then he would cut these horrible promos, and it turned into it was horrible seeing Seth.
I also think that you're kind of living in your past dislike of him because I was right there with you. I didn't like him. I like this.
It's horrible now. He comes out and he wears these horrible outfits.
He's eccentric. He's eccentric as fuck, but inside the ring, the motherfucker can perform. He just didn't need this win. What were you going to say, Gerard? I know you're about to say something.
Well, my thing about this is, guys, when you see stuff like this, Bronson Reed still, to me, got over in a loss because of the way the loss happened. It was like a quick bam, bam, boom, done. 1, 2, 3. It wasn't a drawn out loss, if you get what I mean by that.
My wife is in agreement with Jacob. She cannot stand Seth Rollins. She thinks he's fucking trash. Every time they, she's motherfucker piece of shit.
Well, your wife is very, she's very cultured in that way. She knows the truth. But
I know Benny being around a while, he probably can understand to where sometimes losing, especially big guys like that, what they do with him next. Where does he go next for Bronson Reed? Now, are they pulling out the Seth and Bronson only because, in my mind, that should have been Bronson and Strowman last night. That should have been Bronson Reed and Braun Strowman last night. Because Strowman got hurt, they had to find.
I disagree because I think Strowman is not over as much as fucking Rollins, and that's why they put him in that promo, in that whole fucking package here, is because you have a top guy in fucking Rollins, former fucking champion. He should have won. That puts him on the level with a Seth Rollins.
I know the spoilers for what's going to happen tomorrow night at Raw because they taped it today. So
don't you ruin shit.
I'm not ruining shit. I'm just saying I think Bronson should have gone over either way, but it needs to be a situation where Bronson now needs to destroy Seth. Throw him through a car window, fucking, I don't know, do something, set him on fire.
Okay, so I put it like this, Gerard. I know where you're coming from, but this is what bothers me with it. Yes, he got over a bit, but did Goldberg need to beat the fucking Fiend in Saudi Arabia and take the belt off him?
Well,
I said sometimes the finish.
He popped right back up, no different.
Sometimes the finish isn't as important as the story. Where they go with Bronson Reed from here, that's what I want to look at. Sometimes wins and losses doesn't mean much if the story plays out better for Bronson Reed. What kind of a monster do we get out of Bronson Reed because of this loss?
They've already had this fucking ticker tape bullshit where fucking he's almost beaten him, or they've done this, or a double count out, or the ring implodes, or fucking aliens come in and blow up the ring before Bronson can get his fucking win. When is Bronson going to go on that fucking tear? Perfect example. It took him how many years to pull the trigger on the Hall of Pain, and that was fucking Mark Henry's best fucking work.
Right.
I don't want them to treat him like Mark Henry, and it's fucking. He's 40 years old before he gets a fucking big time title run, and it's overshadowed by sexual chocolate or other shit.
Well, the one thing that I can say about that, and I think Benny will agree, is when you see some of these storylines going in there. You don't want to just have a 6-month storyline with a big guy like that, and then he fades off into the sunset. We never hear from him again. You want that his storyline. I understand what I'm saying about the story. With somebody like Bronson Reed, where he's for a big guy, where he's versatile, who could be his next guy to listen? I'll tell you this right now: if you turn Bronson Reed from this loss and put him in the ring with Gunther.
But I think that's too soon because he didn't win the match here.
It is too soon.
Now,
I'm telling you this, I'm all for sexual Marmite fucking Bronson Reed coming out here. I'd be all for it. That's he's hooking up with the corpse of Mae Young and shit. That'd be great.
Oh my God!
Fuck's sake!
Listen, I just told you this show yesterday looked like a Vince production, and you're bringing up a Vince production.
Let me ask you this: Sheamus is on Raw right now, right?
Yep.
So what would you say, Bronson fucking Sheamus? That's his next program.
Bronson fucking Sheamus is going to be a program.
Yes, Bronson fucking Sheamus. Yes.
See, if you like old school brawls, that's a great match to have.
It is.
It's a great like.
And I can tell you exactly how you set that up.
Because
they got that 4-way, right? Sheamus is in the 4-way, isn't he?
Yeah.
For your number one contender, you have Bronson Reed out of nowhere come out there, cost Sheamus the fucking belt or fucking opportunity. Because you can't do it with Damian right now. You can't do it. Damian's on the way up. You can't fucking do that. Bronson needs a win. Sheamus is a guy who can take a loss; it doesn't hurt him any. And you keep Damian Priest, who's moving up for the title. Damian can get his get back on fucking Dominic in that match, and you give Damian the win, and then you set up Damian versus fucking Gunther, and he'll probably lose it and be cost by fucking Finn Balor, and they revisit that program.
What do you think, Benny?
I want to go old school for a bit because you guys mentioned about Seth Rollins being annoying. To me, he's very annoying. But here's the problem. You know, back in the day, and Gerard, you know that you can definitely connect with this. I'm sure both of you other guys can because you're fans of wrestling. But you know, when they had the territories, nobody stayed in a place for more than a year and a half. Why? Because they got stale.
Yeah, if that long.
Yeah, I mean, Dusty Rhodes, even when he was hot as anything in Florida, but they, Eddie Graham would send him up to New York for a couple of months to challenge Billy Graham.
Andre the Giant too. Andre the Giant was the best.
But how many years have we been watching Seth Rollins? I've been watching The Miz for what, 21 years. I don't want to see The Miz anymore.
Well, and here's the thing. We'll go back to Baron Corbin. I'm sorry, Dan. Baron Corbin, he's been on. He was another one that needed to go away, and now he's finally out of there. And Seth Rollins I don't think he's ever going to get released anytime soon. But So I just think Seth Rollins he has go away heat with me, and I just don't get it. I don't get
I was going to ask you, that was something we were kind of touching on last week, and I guess Benny's here. We can ask him about it as well too. What do y'all think about the fact that we have all these different fucking organizations right now? We got Maple Leaf going on right now. We got MLW. We got fucking New Japan still. You got AEW. You got TNA. Do you think they can work this like some sort of territory kind of thing where companies will trade talent over just to get them fresh somewhere else to bring them back?
Why are they all here?
Well, I think AEW started the fucking trend, and then people were like, fuck that. There can be more than one fucking company.
They're all here for one reason.
To get Gerard as a referee.
No. Listen. Because of the way the business has taken off again. And if you look, WWE doesn't need to worry about the territory system anymore. They don't need to. Because why? They can't fill all the spots.
That's what I'm saying, though. I'm not saying worry. I'm saying, as a get back, because they're doing good business with TNA, right? I have no doubt that in the next 6 months we're going to see Jordan Grace in NXT. Or, hell, we might get Josh Alexander, which I think would be amazing to get Josh and Alexander into that NXT system. What I'm saying is, do you think that they, stop having a dick measuring contest and we start having companies say, hey, look, I'll lend you so-and-so, but you lend me that guy for 6 months? Do you think that we can find a way to get back and undo Vince destroyed the territory system. We go back, you see that. Do you think we go to an age where we can have a territory system here where people will share that talent?
That's a great thought, Dan, because, that's what Vince Sr. did.
Yeah.
He'd say, give me, go to Fritz von Erich, give me Waldo von Erich for 3 months, and I'll give you, I don't know, whoever, Billy White Wolf. They did. They had working agreements. Why couldn't you do the same thing? Even though they're not territories, they're different companies, but why couldn't you do the same thing?
Benny, you hear the words you just said? You just said 2 words. Working agreements.
Right.
That's it. Now, that's what I'm saying. Oh, we call them the independents right now. Hey, I don't have enough time for this guy to hit my airwaves. But if you want to use them in a I'm not giving him up to you, but if you want to put him on so he doesn't get ring rust.
Well, no, I'm not talking just about that. You said it perfectly. You said your perfect word yourself. Independence. I'm not talking about independence. Independence doesn't get televised other than fucking public access at 4:00 in the fucking morning. I'm talking put these guys on a real life television program. Give them the reps down there.
I think if they did do that, NXT started it with the TNA thing. And automatically, they did it right. You could go the opposite route like AEW did and have Kenny Omega basically squash Moose and Sami Callihan and Rich Swann and then, win the Impact title and then do fuck all with it. And, the working relationship has to benefit both sides in some way.
But you say that, but I disagree, because what that did was it was the launching point for Josh Alexander being the face of TNA. It was
but
part
that
of
was
the whole
during a time when no one was in TNA crowds at all, and that's like.
And now they're doing phenomenal business because of what fucking happened. Like, okay, Christian Cage drops Kenny. He has that homecoming. He's a notable face. He was a TNA guy. And then fucking Josh Alexander in a hard fought battle beats fucking Christian Cage. Moose cashes in the gauntlet trophy, beats him in front of his. What fucking is more heart wrenching than fucking watching Josh Alexander hugging his wife and his son, and then getting speared by Moose 5 seconds after winning the belt? You want to kill fucking Moose for that,
Benny? Where would you start that? if you're the guy, where would you start your idea?
I'll give you an example. Did trade Seth Rollins to AEW for 6 months or a year and get MJF back in return.
MJF on the back burner of that?
Get MJF. It's Seth for MJF, even up.
Let me ask you this. Now, you just bring up MJF. Do you think Tony Khan not putting him on the mic while he was injured killed MJF? Nothing was wrong with his mouth. Should Tony Khan have kept him on the ear and on the mic? A la Steve Austin, when Steve Austin went to ECW and Tommy and
That's different. That's different, Gerard, because it wasn't that he was taken off the mic. He got fucking fired over the phone by Eric Bischoff.
Package, mind you.
But what happened was Paul called him and said, "Hey, Steve, you want to come work for me? Because my arm's busted. Can you talk?" Paul Heyman had the mindset of, "Hey, you're a big name. You were stunning Steve Austin. I can put you on my fucking program. You can just talk for fucking 6 months or whatever."
MJF was at the height of his popularity, and because he got an injury and he was going through his contract BS,
he doesn't have. Well, here's the thing about MJF. He needed to be gone, right? That he needed to talk that shit. He needed to be gone for there. What I'm upset with MJF is they gave him nowhere to go. You can't turn a guy like that fucking face and think it's gonna work. He's a heel. He's got to be a fucking heel. We're talking about a guy that's flipping off 10-year-olds. We're talking about a guy who's looking at a paraplegic kid and said, "Look what I can do," and stands up.
Yeah, it's like,
how do you come back from that, right? Like,
it's. Yeah, I was literally about to say that. It's like you can't really. They've literally fucked MJF, in a way where it's kind of fascinating, because now we're in a situation where Adam Cole is the babyface again, and. Now we're just supposed to forget any of that devil shit happened. And then, now it's like to Gerard's point, I think that, I think Tony didn't have the hindsight to be like, well, because he would have put MJF on TV.
Because
to do
Tony
what?
Khan is one of us who's decided to use his daddy's money to run a wrestling company. Okay, I'll say it. I know I can't stand when I fucking agree with you fuck faces, but damn it, yes, Tony Khan is nothing but a fucking mark who got a wrestling company, and it sucks. Look, it is what it is. The great talent. I love people like fucking The Butcher and the Blade, one of my favorite underrated tag teams. I love the House of Black. Yes, I like that cold, goofy shit. I love Private Party, who's finally getting the push only because the fucking Young Bucks are hurt. That has nothing to do with their fucking talent, which is garbage. You have a lot of I know they're gonna bomb with Lashley. It breaks my heart to say that, but they're gonna bomb it with Lashley. But it's because you have a guy in Tony Khan, in my opinion, who is a fan of wrestling, who has no business being behind that book.
Now, hey, to bring that back, so you know what? Let's go back to the fourth match yesterday, if you want to go back to that. Nia Jax, Liv Morgan. Benny.
Before you got here, before you were fashionably late, Benny was giving us his opinion about fucking Liv being the size of Nia Jax's ass.
Yeah, when you have somebody who, when you go to the amusement park, and they have that, that groundhog, and it says, "Must be this high to get on the rides." She's not even that big. I mean, against the beast.
So let me see if you agree with this one. So I watched this. I see Liv Morgan go over. Obviously, it turned into a 3-on-1. Okay. Now, Liv Morgan right now is supposed to be your number one woman heel. At the end of last night's show, she's in the ring with Cody Rhodes as a babyface, riding in the golf cart to go over to the WWE Experience, acting like a little schoolgirl. I'm like,
Well, this is Liv Morgan we're talking about. I mean, we're not talking about someone.
Listen, I'm like, are we supposed to forget right now that she's supposed to be the #1 heel?
But yes, because she herself forgot that, you know.
You forget these shows don't count. The Saudi shows don't count.
Well, and you got to take in account that, you know, it's kind of sad that Liv Morgan is supposed to be the #1 heel for the women, you know, and I mean, you could make the argument for Nia Jax, but I don't think I'm going to, you know, the only one who's making an argument for Nia Jax is the buffet telling her she needs to stop.
Listen,
but like it's just you know, Liv Morgan just doesn't have, you know, it, and she's cute, you know. Like
I think she has all of it. I think she's a damn good, fine wrestler as far as she's come. My only issue with her is I don't believe that a girl that could actually be the meat in the sandwich for Nia Jax is going to get over. I just don't believe that.
Right.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Benny, here's a question for you, Benny. Do you ever remember any time any heel character, back, like let's say the late 80s, 90s, something like that, broke character to be the baby for a day? But then when, like, could you imagine like somebody like Jake the Snake Roberts when he was in his heyday as being
that is the wrong man to be talking about.
Yeah, it's like that's not even apples and oranges. That's like apples and
that's like saying Hannibal Lecter is a good guy because he ate a fucking mouse.
And that's what I'm trying to say is, Benny, do you back in those days, can you tell me any heel character, #1 heel, turns babyface for a day? I could even use your Rowdy Piper or something like that. Do you think was it such you took pride in your spot to where I don't give a crap what you're gonna do, you're not flipping me?
No, I mean I'm going back to the AWA. I think when Nick Bockwinkel was a babyface champion, and I think he was bringing in a heel, Maurice Mad Dog Vachon.
Wow.
And you know, and can I trust this guy? But you know, and back then that was just part of a turn. I mean, they teased like, can we trust this guy? But you know, in the end, he turned. But not for a day.
That was a good segue, Benny. That was a good segue because the first guy I said to you was Jake the Snake, and Jake had a whole program with Warrior. Do you trust me? He had the whole program asking Ultimate Warrior, do you trust me? That was actually a good segue.
You know, it's sad that we're comparing, like, listen to the people we're comparing this to Liv Morgan. You know, it's like, it's kind of like, this is kind of a non-argument.
Like, I really think, I think Saudi is like Las Vegas. Like, what happens in Saudi stays in Saudi, and like we forget that it ever happened.
So I got a comment here. You're back talking about kayfabe. Is it really still a thing, or is it dead? What do you think, Benny?
I think it's dead. I just don't want it to be dead as an old school fan. But it is.
I agree with you, but in the same breath, like, I don't think that people realize how important kayfabe fucking was. Go back to fucking Vern Gagne. And I know he's not everybody's favorite motherfucking person in the world, but Vern Gagne had it right. The heel stayed in one fucking hotel, the face stayed in another hotel. If you fucking try to break that rule, you were fired.
And Bill Watts, if you lost a bar fight, you got fired because, you know.
Well, and it's just like, you know, going back to Seth Rollins, when Seth Rollins got, you know, attacked by a fan and then basically like stood up and let security, you know, take the fan down. Like Chavo Guerrero came out and was like, dude, you know, Bill Watts would have fired Seth Rollins for that. So you can't, you know, it's kayfabe is alive and well in a lot of people's hearts, but in the real sense, it's totally dead. Of course it is.
I'm glad you brought that up because now asking that question takes us to the next match.
Well, before you go to the next match, I do want to talk about one thing with this fucking women's match that I think is the biggest travesty. Fuck the Liv stuff. Fuck the Nia Jax almost fucking killing somebody with her ass. How the fuck is Tiffany Stratton not walking out of fucking Saudi Arabia with a championship?
I sent you that message. When they had Liv Morgan at the end of the night, standing up in the corner,
I would have hit her in the fucking back of the head with a brick and walked out with that belt.
Right. That's what they had the perfect chance to do it right then and there.
And it keeps her a fucking heel. Granted, look, I will be honest with you. I am high on Tiffany Stratton. She has the athleticism of a fucking Lita and a Trish Stratus, and she's twice as better looking than all of them. So my thing about her is, I don't want her to go face yet. I don't want her. I want her to fucking knock the shit out of Liv and just be that sneaky ass. If she does the turn on Nia Jax, which is the problem with having two heel fucking women's champions, But if she knocks out Nia, she's going to get that fucking pop of, oh my God, you finally thrown the monster. If she sneakily does it to Liv, I think she can walk away with some heat because people want to like the bad guy.
Now that thing that came out with Rhea Ripley, you could see Tiffy cash in on Liv Morgan.
They need another big female like face on fucking Raw. That's just my thought process. And what the fuck? When are the women going to fucking defend the belts? Liv hasn't defended shit. I mean, Nia is still fucking defended, but when the fuck is Liv going to defend that fucking belt?
Well, who's she going to defend against? I mean, there's really not
exactly.
Right.
Go ahead, Benny.
Now to go back to that thing about the kayfabe part and stuff like that, tell me Randy Orton and Kevin Owens didn't look like an old-fashioned barnyard brawl.
I loved it. I fucking loved it. The KO that was fucking Kevin Steen if I ever fucking saw it. I'm sick and tired of Kevin Owens, the character, because I know what the fucker's capable of. Take no way but look back at fucking him and fucking Sami Zayn when he was El Generico and Ring of Honor, the fucking wars they had. I want that Kevin Steen. I'm tired of this watered down version of him. I've been tired of it since fucking NXT.
What was your take on that, Benny?
Well, besides it being a great match, what I really liked the best, one of the things, being an old school fan, matches ended on countouts and draws. I mean, not everything ended with a clean finish. It was so nice to see a match without an end, without a decision.
And you set up Randy to start to go heel as well when he hit fucking the Pierce with a fucking RKO.
I don't know if anybody would ever turn him heel for hitting Adam Pierce with an RKO.
He's going against the authority figure, and you see the look on his general manager's face. Fucking Jacob's favorite wrestler other than fucking the modern day Maharaja.
Benny, I'll put you like this.
I will not stand for the Nick Aldis slander on here. He's a great guy.
Hey, Benny, I'll tell you the first time I ever saw professional wrestling, to go back with yesterday, my first time I ever watched it on TV was the day Ray the Crippler Stevens took out Jimmy Snuka.
Oh, yeah,
With Lou Albano, he gets in there, he hits him with the beads, and then Ray Crippler Stevens pop. I'm like, what the heck is this? I'm sitting on my couch. I'm 10 years old.
That Jimmy Snuka said, buddy, would you be my manager?
Wasn't that the next week? That was the next week, wasn't it?
Yeah, yes.
And then from there, they had me hooked. I watched him against Morocco in the cage in Madison Square Garden. I was like, I was Monday Night USA Network, back in those days, primetime wrestling. Oh, and that's what
I think that's the biggest difference between then and now is then, like now I watch out of habit and because I do a podcast. Then I couldn't wait to watch it, see what happened.
Yeah. See, and I wish I was there back because I was in the 80s and I watched it fucking as a youngster. But I go back and I look at all the old AEWA tapes, and there was nobody that caught my eye like a fucking Nick Bockwinkel, especially.
I was about to say, Nick Bockwinkel is the shit.
Him and Heenan and fucking.
When they did those promos, oh my god, that was gold.
Well, I said to these guys before, because he grew up in Dallas. I said, Benny, you remember this in the early to mid '80s, WCCW.
Oh fuck yeah.
It was the shit.
Oh, yeah, the Von Erich, Chris Adams.
Yes, Von Erichs and Freebirds. That was it.
I told when I first met Gerard, we had a long talk. I guess he was testing me. I don't know what the fuck he was doing. He was asking me questions about it. And I told him, look, this is in my blood. I have photos at my mother's house of me on the shoulders of fucking Kevin Von Erich with fucking gentleman Chris Adams going,
wow, damn.
I mean, I don't remember a lot from my childhood, but I can remember that stale-ass sweat smell as a fucking 5-year-old at the fucking sportatorium. I can remember that shit.
The one guy that we talked about before, Benny, I don't know if you've ever seen it before. We've talked about Gino Hernandez.
Fuck, that is a fucking shame, man.
When you talk about the what-ifs of professional wrestling, to me, the biggest
I did a list a couple episodes ago. I bring it on list.
Magnum TA, yep.
In the list that I bring up,
car wreck, what would have happened if Gino Hernandez didn't drug himself?
Well, everybody says
I said before, Gino Hernandez probably would have been a horseman and probably would have been one of the best horsemen of all time.
The thing,
he would have been better than Paul Roma.
Better than Paul Roma, of course.
What I'm saying about fucking even before that, if Magnum didn't get in that car wreck, would we have the career that Dusty had towards the end? Fuck, would Flair have held the title as many times as he did?
Is Sting?
It's Sting. Yeah.
It's Sting.
It sucks because like you guys are talking about great eras in wrestling, like growing up and back in those times and stuff like that. And I grew up, the first house show first show I remember going to, first match I ever saw was Boogeyman and Simon D.
Fuck.
That's the first that's the first like live match I remember seeing that I could like vividly.
Well, you know what? That's good because now that brings us to what the triple threat match last night.
Okay, now don't get me wrong. Say what you want.
That was a match.
I got a question. I got to ask all of y'all. Make sure I can ask this freely if WWE isn't trying to take me out. Do y'all think Andrade and Carmelo Hayes are fucking? Because they are so good for the fucking together. That chemistry, he's right up his fucking ass with that.
You know what that's called? You've had 7 or 8. Now you've been in the ring 8 times with each other. Is what they say. 8 times. You better know, like I told, when they had the 10 days on, 3 days off, you'd work the same guy for 10 days in a row. By the time you got to the 10th show, when I say the timing was like this.
And look, LA Knight did not hinder that match at all. Like I'm glad he went over, but fuck.
Whoever booked the finish of that match last night, it was perfect in the way the finish was applied. Okay,
I wish we had that good of a finish with the Bronson Reed match because that's how fucking good it was.
The sidetrack here, you guys missed this during the Kevin Owens and Randy Orton brawl. We had a run in from 3. We had a run in from 3, people from the Ruthless Aggression era. We had a run in from Kenny Dykstra, Daivari, and Jamie Noble. They all showed up and they tried to break it up. It was awesome. I was marking out. I was waiting for I was waiting from Tensai.
Really, that's because you were waiting for fucking Jinder Mahal. You haven't seen it, Benny.
I was waiting for Tensai to come out. I'm like, shit. I'm like, wait, Daivari's out there. I'm like, Jamie Noble. I'm like, where's Jerry Mercury?
You haven't been here before, but fucking Jacob here is a huge fucking Jinder Mahal fan. I never thought I would see one in my entire life, but we have one fan of Jinder Mahal.
The greatest WWE champion of the past 15 years. But anyways, we won't talk about greatness right now. But I just had to throw it out there. We did get great run-ins last night.
I'll put it like this: up until that match last night, up until the triple threat, guys, I thought it was an extremely mediocre, boring pay-per-view up until that moment. Okay, yep. Just the in-ring work that I was seeing, it just seemed like they're just playing. They're doing the routines. They're going through the motions. The triple threat, and to his credit, we all know. LA Knight was by far the oldest guy in that ring last night.
But you can't tell.
No, that you could not tell he was the oldest
guy. Just turned 42.
Fucking yeah.
42 is the new 27.
Well, David Priest is in his 40s too, right?
With what they're doing right now, and like Benny, and this is the thing to where. Because of having these guys work less days and they're not putting that tax on their bodies anymore, you're right. You can do it a little longer. But
I'm also thinking that has to do with some of the advents and fucking rehab they have, like the kinesis tape and fucking the cryo chambers. Like, and say what you want about Seth Rollins. He was one of the first guys to start telling people, hey, you need to try this. The stuff that these MMA fighters are using.
Cena used to use this back brace. Okay, Cena would use a back brace. It'd hang on the door. It literally, on any door that he would go into. He could, in any building he'd go into, it would just hang on the door, and it would hang on this back brace.
How did you know, though? You couldn't see him.
No, that would stretch your back. Listen, freaking bastard. So it would stretch his back, and I would be like, "Oh my god!"
Well, you gotta also think with Cena. I mean, he probably had some help, with his old Uncle Roy.
Listen, okay. You're talking about a guy who grew up 15 minutes from me, so hey.
So that's why he's all fucked up?
No. Same state.
Hold on, Benny. I know the question you want to ask him, Benny. Did you give Cena the rub?
No. Hey. Nikki maybe, but no, we won't go there.
No. She's not getting the rub. She's ducking rights and lefts. That's what I hear.
That's why she's ducking left and right, because she wasn't giving the rub.
That whole situation is fucked, but
right. So we go from that. Now we get to the main event. Benny, I got to ask you because I'm not on your show that much. So what is your overall opinion of Gunther?
Love the guy. And the reason why I love Gunther is because you could take Gunther and you could put him in a time machine and you could send him back to 1969.
Killer Kowalski?
And he could main event the Boston Garden with Bruno Sammartino instead of Killer Kowalski and be just as believable. And how many guys could you say that about?
Here's my thing for you. And let me ask you this, Benny, this is your opinion too. I don't like his mic work.
I love his mic work.
His in-ring work, though, his in-ring work, his mic work is a heel work, but his in-ring work makes you want him to win.
Right. But you got to remember, too, back in the day, which that's another thing I think wrestling is sorely missing. If you had a guy in the 70s that really, was okay on the mic, but really couldn't quite cut it, you paired him up with Albano or Blassie or the Grand Wizard, right?
Yeah.
These guys got to do it all on their own.
And they got one take to get it right. One. Because
I have no problem with Gunther's mic work. I think the guy's great all around. He's a phenomenal.
Well, and the reason I'm saying that is because you take someone like a fucking Bockwinkel and you mix him with a fucking Nikita Koloff or something like that. I think that's a fucking perfect fucking harmony when it comes to fucking Gunther. He is excellent in the ring. His in-ring is just like he's one of those heels who doesn't need a fucking heater. He doesn't need a fucking cheat to win. And that makes it even worse. You just can't beat me. It's not that I'm cheating or I treasure the ring.
I'm just that good.
I'm just so good that you're so trash that I don't want you in my ring. I don't want this filth in my ring. And it's like you want to hate him because he's fucking right.
The great thing about that is that he kind of made Cody look fucking terrible during this build because it was kind of jarring when they were talking and Cody kept bringing up his daughter for some reason. Then Gunther even said, he was like, listen, why are you making this personal, dude? This is just business. He's like, I'm going to destroy you. And it was great. And it's just like, and I honestly think they should use Ludwig more as like kind of like as a hype man.
I think he's it's going to sound stupid. My favorite thing that Ludwig Kaiser does is he grabs that fucking coat when he flips the jacket off and he has it perfectly wrapped like he's about to fucking take it to the cleaners. I'm like this.
Well, and he's dating Tiffany Stratton, that lucky motherfucker. So he's the luckiest guy in wrestling.
Hey Benny, let me ask you this, Ben, because you're old school. You'll remember this. The finish of that match last night, what did it remind you of?
Fucking horseshit.
I know it was. I don't remember specifically. I didn't like it because I thought Gunther should have went over.
You know what I thought it reminded me of? Fucking Steve Austin, fucking Bret Hart.
No, not the two guys in the ring.
Survivor Series.
It reminded me of an old school heel putting one over on the babyface. The problem last night was the babyface put one over on the heel. Does it hurt Gunther the way it was done? No, and I'll give you the best reason why. The way Gunther stood up, put his title on, shook Cody's hand, basically said to him, "You got me this time," and walked out of the ring.
I agree with you. It kind of gave me Kevin Nash and Rey Mysterio vibes. Probably I don't know why, but that kind of the comparison.
When Kevin Nash threw him into the trailer?
Yeah, no, that would have been great. I think Cody would have.
It bothers me because right now Cody doesn't need. Look, it's better to root for a sympathetic babyface losing and going into into a fucking unsurmountable fucking situation. We don't know who Cody's going to face next, but
yeah, I was about to ask that.
Having Cody lose there, trying to come back from this loss to gain that momentum, and he needs that shit because look, the Cody experiment. As much as people like Cody, I don't think he has the same luster he did. That's just my opinion. With Gunther, I want him to be unstoppable. I want when he loses that belt, I want it to be someone who
just gotta mean something.
Yes. And right now, because he hasn't been champion that long, The guy he beat couldn't win, and I like Damian Priest. I loved him when he was Punishment Martinez, but when he beat Damian Priest, it wasn't worth a shit because one, he got screwed, but two, Damian hadn't won a clean fucking match since he was the champion. We knew he was a transitional champion. We knew what was going to happen there. Gunther needs that fucking elevation, not the man. The man is great, but that belt.
Hey, Benny, here's one for you. To give it a good thing, in comparison, isn't both Kowalski and Gunther's real first name Walter?
Walter, absolutely.
It's Walter.
But I mean, even as far as his mic work, I mean, when he cut that promo on Goldberg saying, "I hope you're a better father than you were a professional wrestler."
Jesus.
That was
hey, what was he saying that was wrong there? What did he say that was wrong?
I love that. That was great.
Well,
and back to what I said, Gerard, it's not like he's lying to anybody. Go back to CM Punk. Tell me when I'm telling lies. That should have been Gunther.
Well, I mean, how about Mr. Backlund? Same thing. Everything Mr. Backlund said was absolutely spot on. Just nobody wanted to hear it.
I saw, and people were saying that, the rumor is that it's possibly going to be Gunther and Punk at Survivor Series. God help Punk if that happens, because I think that could be a great match just to see how, because Punk is a great seller, and I think he would sell. It probably wouldn't even be selling, though, to be honest.
Well, remember one thing, and you guys might agree, and Benny might agree with this one. That match is in Canada. Don't be surprised if Gunther's the baby face in that match in Canada.
Oh, 100%.
Well, I mean, the whole shaking hands and that was very babyface move.
So,
at the end of the match,
how do we know that's not the turn that we could be looking for?
Do you turn Gunther babyface, though?
Yeah, that goes back to what I said about MJF. I don't want to see an MJF babyface.
I don't want to see a babyface Gunther.
Speaking of Gunther,
no,
did you guys see what...
My thing about that is like this. When I see Gunther on the mic, he talks as a babyface. But once he starts wrestling, I want him to go over. Listen, I couldn't stand DiBiase on the mic. But when he got in the ring wrestling for somebody, I almost wanted DiBiase to go over. Mr. Perfect.
See, this is why I'm fucked up, because I love the bad guys. Like I told you when I first met you, like Jake the Snake was my guy. I love the bad guys. I loved his promos. When he told me Gene Okerlund was like, "You're a sick man, Jake Roberts." Yes, I am.
But that's the thing to where the ring, and that's where Gunther comes into play. He's an old school, methodical. He comes across that way. A lot of guys today in that ring, on that mic, don't come across that way. Like I said, me and Benny grew up in an era to where guys got in the microphone. Listen, the Wild Samoans didn't say nothing. Lou Albano did it for him. All the Wild Samoans ever did was open up their eyes. And they scare the hell out of you just by opening up their eyes.
But to be fair, they were Samoan. We're also talking about a family that one guy bit off another guy's finger, threw it in a fucking ice cup, and gave it to the police. I was trying to enjoy my meal. Here's his finger.
But I'm just saying is, though, good old school psychology like that, you don't. Those guys like that are diamond.
Don't mess with Gunther, please. Leave him the way he is.
Yes, please. Don't.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. You don't have guys like that. They come around. Think about it. Since Jake the Snake and Gunther, in that stretch, how many guys have you had like that? I'll give you one. Remember when Waylon Mercy was a...
Oh, jeez.
Oh, don't get me started. I love fucking lives are going to be in Waylon Mercy's hands.
Wasn't that a takeoff from the Cape Fear movie with Robert De Niro?
Yes. Yep. But
so we got a comment. The Gunther Cody match was reminiscent of Brett versus Piper IC match at Mania.
Well, and if we're talking about underrated, I mean, Dan Spivey in general is just underrated, man.
And the fucked up thing was when Spivey got to that role, his body was already broken. He couldn't really,
the one thing
I knew who Dan Spivey was when I was young because my dad told me back when he was in the Navy, they had a UWF Fury Hour like on the TV, like when he was in the Navy, and he was like, I love that shit. So I knew who Herb Abrams and Dan Spivey was back when I was like 10.
Put it this way, that whole show made me last night when the Saudi Arabian crowd doing the wave and Gunther in the ring with it. He's doing the wave but he's doing it heel fashion.
Mocking him, yeah.
That, like I said, timing in the professional wrestling business is extremely great if you can get
The only thing that would make
timing.
The only thing that would make him worse heel is if he was goose stepping down the motherfucking ringway, because he is fucking just so good.
Listen, that's Ludwig Kaiser. Kaiser does that.
Yep.
Fucking he like I said, the best thing about him is he can back it up.
It's funny is he'll wear the $1,000 suit when he claims with loafers on. He got the loafers on.
Well, speaking of Gunther, did you guys see what Bobby Lashley said? That like he pitched an idea where him and Gunther are like would have a feud. Like, did you guys see this?
No.
Oh my God! So Bobby Lashley pitched an idea. I don't know. You can look at. He did an interview and he was saying, basically, I could have Gunther come out there and make it a race issue, and then I could, go up and go up to my lip and you say you look like this, and like it was great. If you guys have time, look that shit up.
But see, the problem with that is if they go and make it a race issue, right? Then you're gonna have to put Bobby over. And I don't want to see Bobby Lashley beat Gunther. I don't.
You can't. But hey,
this is why Bobby Lashley is in AEW, and they didn't have anything for him in creative because he comes up with ideas like that.
You cannot do a Hitler gimmick. You can't do it.
Yeah.
Hold on. Vince tried to. You know, do you remember the fucking first name that Gunther had? It was Walter. Then it was supposed to be Gunther something, who was the captain of a fucking German Nazi U-boat.
Well, Heidenreich was supposed to be a frozen Nazi soldier. Like, that was supposed to be his original gimmick. So, it's always been there. Kenzo Suzuki was going to be a Japanese dictator.
Kaiser reminds me of a Special Olympics version of
Well, listen, I'll put it like this, though. Alex Wright, when he first came in, when he was doing the dancing and stuff like that, he wasn't a bad wrestler.
Hey, we said it on the show. If they would have had Alex Wright come out at Bash in Berlin, he would have gotten one of the biggest pops.
To be fair, look. We have to thank Alex Wright for his most important deed in the history of all of wrestling. It is a move that changed the face of wrestling for the better. Because Alex Wright was not given the job by Paul Roma. Paul Roma was fired from WCW. So it's because of Alex Wright.
All right.
Paul Roma was no longer in WCW. Go fuck yourself, Paul.
So
tell me.
Now, to go to that, after what we saw this week and stuff like that, Benny, I'm going to ask you, and these other guys too, in Saudi Arabia, do you think China would have ever gotten over in Saudi Arabia?
Man, that's a good question. But she'd have to be like all gimmicked up. Could you really see her? Her physique?
My question is:
I'm talking before the
body work or after the body work?
I don't know. That's a good question. That is a good question.
She was the perception again for me. Again, we're going to transition to that because we put it in the fucking tag that if we had time, we're going to talk about what we didn't talk about last week. Go fuck yourself, Paul. Perception.
I'm glad we got that in though.
Perception for her. Well, I don't like a guy coming in here who think he was. Look, granted, he was a wrestler.
Can we just stop talking about Paula and Maria?
Okay. Fair enough. The perception of fucking China back then, she was the face of a dominant fucking female. She was a dominant woman. She was breaking barriers. She was wrestling the fucking men. I don't think that goes over in Saudi Arabia. I don't think that they will fucking be accepting of that. They get to see a woman coming in there and putting a man in his place, and especially someone like China who didn't give a fuck and just did it. Joni Lawler was a fucking animal as far as what she did to fucking grown men. I think that they would have been uprising. They would have been pissed. Even now that they're trying to be so fucking.
I don't even think China just, even in general gets over in general today, because China was in a weird position where they tried to make her very masculine, but then they tried to sexualize her too for some reason. I don't know. Some people found China sexy.
how she started.
Well, my wife said it was because Vince was a freak.
No.
Well,
How she
I mean,
started.
yeah, but
When she was shaking Terry Reynolds the way she shook her.
I thought she killed her. I'm a kid, but I think she fucking killed her. I think she killed Marlena, like just ragdolling her. But to be fair, there's a second part of that. Terry Reynolds sold that like a motherfucker, shaking her hair and making it look like she was being fucking violated. Like, it was fantastic.
Good thing she didn't pop a boob.
Well, she had popped many a boob.
But isn't that why Charlotte Flair like keeps like getting injured because she keeps popping her boobs? Like, I think that's like a thing. I'm almost positive that keeps.
Look, we know how you feel about Charlotte Flair. I know you like to call him.
It's Rick with tits, everyone, but it's
I know
okay.
How you feel about fucking.
But so to go on with that though, let's now perception and reality of China is the perception was she is the start of the diva women wrestling start all over again. If you could have ever had fantasy booking, Benny, China versus Sherry Martel.
I mean, how do you beat China? I mean,
well, do you want to watch? I mean, that just depends. Do you want to watch a show where a fucking pit bull eats a chihuahua?
I mean, they literally. I mean, they had China and Chris Jericho in there, and China, believably was better than Chris Jericho, I'd say.
She beat Jeff Jarrett for the Intercontinental Championship
in a good housekeeping match.
Yes.
I mean, it's not hard to beat Jeff Jarrett. I mean, the mailman.
What was the famous line by Graham? Broke 1,500 guitars, never drew a fucking dime, and yet somewhere in his tiny Tennessee brain, he thought he was more over than Hulk Hogan.
You know what's sad about that is that I was rooting for Jeff Jarrett to fucking win that Owen Hart Cup. I was rooting for him there. I
think with age has gotten better, but TNA is a perfect example of, like, again, representation, right? Fucking perception. You think that TNA wants you to believe that Jeff Jarrett was this unstoppable force. He was basically their fucking Triple H at the time, and I'm sorry, fucking how many times did Jarrett need to drop the belt in fucking TNA? Fucking Raven should have held that belt longer. Fucking AJ Styles should have held that belt longer. Fucking Marcus Corvan, better known as fucking the alpha male Monty Brown, had a hell of a run.
I would say he's better known as Monty Brown than Marcus Corvan. I forgot.
Monty Brown was no pun intended. Monty Brown was a fucking animal, and that he got the fucking pounce over. That was a fucking hell of a train wreck move. I love that move.
Benny, here's another one that we forgot to talk about. You guys. So one of the things we put on last week for the Perception versus Reality, Benny, does Rick Rude having another man's wife on his tights get over today?
I would still love it. I love Rick Rude.
I think
they could do that. Sure, they could do that. Why not?
I think the gay version gets over more. I think that if they have like an LGBTQ version,
listen,
get the fuck out of here with that shit, Jacob.
I mean for real. I feel like they would probably do something like that.
No, for all you fat, out of shape, overweight, for him to come out and say those lines today, he would dominate Mysterio.
I got you, fucking Gerard. I got you. Rick Rude comes out against Gunther, puts Gunther's wife on his crotch. How does that go? How does that program go?
Are they both heels? Or
is one a
babyface?
They're both heels at the time.
I think you get a great match out of that regardless.
I'll tell you what. You know what you get out of that? Lots of money is what you get out of that.
Yeah.
Because you finally, I think that's the moment. And Benny, tell me if you disagree. Y'all been doing this far longer than I have. I see you get the fucking. I wasn't a knock. You're the one who's been fucking wrestling with Jesus. Don't play with me, Gerard.
No, I'm looking at the last comment.
Oh. I mean,
there you go. Right, dead on.
Listen. Andrade is a very happy man. I'm sure.
No. Let's go with that. What he just said, okay? And being a couple of us are old school guys, Benny, I got to ask you, if Tyler Rex wanted to come back and go against the women, how would you feel?
How would I feel?
Yep.
I would enjoy it. I mean, he was I mean, he did pretty well as a man. I mean,
I think he had a great body. He had a great look. He just didn't have a good gimmick for sure.
right.
Would you say
that's
would
a
you think he's
deep
taking
cut,
a
man.
spot?
I kind of didn't, because Gerard texted something about this the other day in our group chat, and he said something about Tyler Rex, and I'm like, dude, that's a fucking name I haven't heard of in a long time, and I kind of forgot about the whole Tyler Rex transitioning thing, and I was like, oh shit, I'm like, wait a minute, but I think he is trying to, or she is trying to get back into wrestling, right? Like that's like the, or I don't know, that's the
Let me say
scuttlebutt.
this, and I'm going to have probably an opinion that is counter to a lot of people's here. I don't give a fuck if you want to be a man, you want to be a woman, whatever.
Yeah, I don't care. I mean, I think he was a shitty wrestler as a man. He could be a shitty wrestler as a woman.
But what I'm saying is, we already have a precedent for this. In AEW,
Honey Kiss.
You have Nyla Rose, and a lot of people know that Nyla Rose is transitioned. Whatever. I find it incredible that Nyla Rose, for as big as she is, has never hurt another fucking wrestler. The matches she had with Riho were perfect big man, little man fucking matches. Never fucking hurt her, and that's got to be a credit.
Those are uncomfortable to watch, though. I gotta tell you, man.
She never hurt her. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
They were fucking good ass matches. Like I loved watching that underdog come back. And say what you want. You may not like AEW, you may not like it, but a testament to Nyla Rose with the strength that she has, not hurting one of the female wrestlers to date. I mean, you may agree, may disagree. It's different than saying playing fucking basketball or playing volleyball and a fucking transition person knocking a shit out of a fucking woman with a volleyball, giving them a concussion. It's different than fucking a pro swimmer or a collegiate swimmer who was born with a dick and now can outswim everybody when at first they were fucking placed 140th in the fucking world. There's a difference between competition and competition that is scripted. And I think that's where I have to draw the line as far as that goes.
That's a good point. Very good point.
What do you prefer? How would you? No.
Is that what you're asking?
No.
I'm sorry, Benny. He's not usually like this. I'm sorry he's asking you if you prefer Dick. How dare you?
I'm asking.
Yes.
No, I think to that point, I mean, if you're talking about scripted competition, then if they're a good performer, then it still works, I guess. If you're saying Nyla Rose, I really don't watch AEW, but if you're saying Nyla Rose had some good quality matches where she didn't hurt anybody, then
yep,
then it works as far as it being it works as far as it being a work.
And I'll say this.
Now my other question is,
listen to this. I know that you have an opinion about this, but the same, say what you want about Nyla Rose. The same can't be said for Nia Jax, and she's a woman. She's hurt people.
I mean, well,
a lot of people. You saw what she did.
Your cousin.
I'm saying, like, the perception is some people don't feel like transitioning men should be able to wrestle and fucking with women. Okay. Well, Nyla Rose has done it and not hurt a single fucking person. And there was a woman that was like a third of her size and had a hell of a match with her and still never hurt her. Nia Jax was born a woman, is a woman, and damn near killed fucking Kairi Sane by throwing her give her a concussion, throwing her to a fucking steel fucking ring post.
Well, I mean, again, we're talking about Nia Jax here. I mean, it's like, it's Nia Jax.
We're talking about Nyla Rose, who's a man, born a man.
Well, yeah, but Nyla Rose, it's different though, because Nia Jax, she's in a position where she's only where she's at because of who her family is.
But that's bullshit because her cousin, we all know that fucking Nia Jax's cousin is The Rock. Great, good for you, good wrestling family. You know what fucking Rocky Johnson did when his son wanted to be in the business? Took his ass to a boxing ring and trained him properly. So I think if your lineage is to this business that we all love and we're here for, that the only reason this podcast is around is because we
should have no excuse to hurt people.
There should be no fucking excuse.
Yep. No, exactly. I'm not just saying that. You like Nia Jax sucks because she hurts like everyone pretty much.
Listen, guys, I we'll agree. Accidents can happen.
Absolutely.
If the same accident keeps happening. And we all know. Look at Undertaker. For as bad as he was, his greatest claim that he says he never hurt anybody in the ring.
Bret Hart never hurt anybody in the fucking ring. And you know who hurt one of them and almost killed the other? Bill Goldberg.
Yep. Hey,
because he's a fucking idiot and decided I'm going to headbutt a locker before I go out to the ring, give myself a concussion because I think I'm cool.
Look at it like this. Kurt Hennig never hurt anybody in the ring. Okay, look at how he got injured in the ring.
Fuck.
He got injured because the corner post pads weren't lined up properly. The middle one was off-centered. He went in, and it took his back and twisted his back.
Bulldog in WCW because they wanted to make a grand entrance for the Ultimate
the trap door.
Trap door hurt his back, and he got it.
Well, and to Gerard's point, Kurt Hennig, he actually saved fucking Chris Jericho's life because Chris Jericho one time did a moonsault, and he was literally about to land right on his neck, and Mr. Perfect straight up just caught him in midair. It's like there's a lot of that. Like, and going back to Seth Rollins has hurt a lot of people, but it's like I don't know. Seth Rollins sucks. I'm sorry.
I love this comment. 30 years and Brett never hurt anybody, and he went full blast.
Well, look at the person
never phoned it in once.
Look at the person who trained Bret Hart too.
Stu's a fucking animal too. Again, so like I know we talked about.
In your era, Benny, I don't know if the code of not hurting anybody was ever discussed a lot. Did you ever hear anybody in that era where you got hurt from now potatoing somebody and going out of your way to hurt somebody? That's a receipt.
Sometimes a potato is needed.
A receipt is definitely needed sometimes.
Well, absolutely. I mean, you remember that back in the day, what they would do. The champion was always a good shooter. I mean, good example was Backlund, and one time Angelo Mosca tried to shoot on him, and Backlund made him pay for it. You had to have a guy that if somebody wanted to get smart, you had to be able to put him back in line.
Well, perfect example of that too. Andre and the fucking Warrior. The Warrior, they were on a fucking like a 6-show fucking stint, and fucking Warrior started getting a little cocky because he was getting a little popular and started fucking getting a little hard with Andre towards the end of his career. And Andre told him, "Look, he's back on the fucking shots. He didn't ease back. He fucking haymakered his ass. Tell you this, he eased back after that shit."
Hey, Hogan always says that. If Andre decided to man up during their match at WrestleMania, Hogan ain't who Hogan is. And he goes, listen, he could have changed his mind anytime he wanted to, and who was going to tell Andre no?
Well, then again, go back to reality and the perception of the fucking business. Right. Reality, Andre could have been a champion for 20 fucking years and nobody could have taken it from him.
In reality.
The perception was he was a giant who lost cleanly to the red, white, and blue and the yellow diaper that is Hulk Hogan. I'm sorry, I like Hulk Hogan for what he did. I still think his trunks look like a big-ass diaper.
Well, and also with Hulk Hogan, you got to take into account, like with his Andre story, with the WrestleMania 3. I mean, I always kind of, take everything he says with a grain of salt. Or I don't even say grain of salt.
The only reason why I take what he says to heart, because they've actually shown he wrote out the whole script. He wrote the whole script to the thing. And he comes out and said, and he kept asking Vince, is he going to be okay? Boss, is he going to be okay? Don't worry. Andre will be fine. Don't worry. Andre will be fine. Okay? And now remember this. Back in those days, too, Andre was the money man. No matter where he went, Andre was the money guy.
Fucking Vern would sign him once every so often for a battle royal. They came to see fucking Andre versus 10 guys. Andre was the fucking shit in the territory days.
I tell you what, though, it was painful to see Andre lose to Hogan, but I got it.
Yeah.
What was really painful was to see Andre lose all those matches to Warrior in like 40 seconds. That hurt.
That was a guy who didn't. Again, I go. This is secondhand because I remember I had to go back and watch this shit. But even watching it later on in life, it's like there's no way. I never liked the Warrior. I wasn't a big Hogan fan, And I watched these guys. That it's clearly shtick for these guys to get over. There's no way that this giant monster, who I just got through watching The Princess Bride, thank you very much, was going to get his ass beat by Face Paint McGee over here, who fucking couldn't speak a lick of fucking sense. And the Warrior's gonna. I just don't. I thought he might be having a stroke rather than being a fucking wrestler, but he was just.
Benny, I told these guys when I met Sting, and I said to him,
There you go. There's one right there.
When I met him, and I was able to say to him, it's funny how you've been in this business you lasted over 30 years in the business. And Jim lasted about 18 months. Because that's basically, if you think about it, Ultimate Warrior's heyday lasted about 18 months, maybe 2 years.
As far as him being relevant, yeah.
You know, and it was self-destruction. That's all it was.
Well, WWE even put out a DVD with that very title. You know,
which again goes back to the shit with the WWE. They had to walk a lot of that shit back whenever he came back, and I don't get it.
Well, listen, the reason they did that, the reason they did that is because he died the day after he came back, and Vince felt bad. That's the only reason why they did that.
Before
they
then,
built a fucking statue.
No, fuck that shit. It was before then. Whenever they got him to come back to do the Hall of Fame.
Oh yeah, no, when they got him to do the Hall of Fame. Yeah.
Look, I don't know behind.
I'm talking about afterwards when they built a statue of him and made the Warrior Award. And all
that was for his wife. That was for his wife and kids.
And I have nothing negative to say about his wife or his kids, and I'm so sorry they're growing up without a father. That sucks. That really does. But before he had those kids, before he was married to that woman, you go back to just about anybody. And look, if you're a public figure on television and if you're here to fucking entertain, I have a right to fucking have an opinion. My opinion was he was a fucking dick. And, you know, he squashed a lot of people that I think were more deserving. Say what you want about fucking Triple H, trained by one of the guys you talked about, Killer Kowalski. Hey, look, I'm not saying Triple H was the greatest of all time, but the guy had a mind for the business. Look where he's at now. Look at the position he's in now. And Warrior came in and just squashed him. Didn't think about the youth come in. You know, a guy that actually did good for the youth, and I feel like he doesn't get as much credit, even though he does get quite a bit. Terry Funk. Terry Funk understood that there had to be a business for the future, so let me get those motherfuckers ready. Went to a upstart promotion called ECW and made half their fucking talent the right way.
Yep. So, I mean, he was brought up in the wrestling business, and he had an appreciation for the business, where the Warrior only had an appreciation for the Warrior.
Yeah. Vince, buy all these comic books for me, and I'll do the fucking rub for you. What the fuck? Again,
remember Destrucity? You know, Destrucity, that word he invented.
You know what the funny
was
part
a crazy motherfucker.
Before he was called the Ultimate Warrior, he was called the Dingo Warrior.
Yeah.
Nobody ever really knew that he was a dingo.
From Queens, New York.
Well, and again, what kills me about guys like that is that they'll remember these guys for being so fucking great and this and that. Can't we just be honest? Look, it's okay look, you're a dick. You may have done some great shit. Reality versus perception, Chris Benoit. Look what he did. All right?
What did he do? What happened?
Shut the fuck up, Jacob. Jesus Christ. What I'm saying is fucking Chris Benoit, I've had people try to have arguments with me. Do you think he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame? Fuck you. No, he doesn't deserve. Look, say what you want. You're a public figure. You don't deserve, when your personal life leads to you doing something else. I don't care about your conspiracy theories. I don't care if you think Kevin Sullivan did it. I don't give a fuck.
It's ridiculous. Yeah.
I'm sick of it. Chris Benoit.
To go on that line, let's go up with Benoit and Bruiser Brody for Benny's purposes.
Fuck yeah.
How about Jimmy Snuka?
Fuck yes.
Brother, she slipped and hit her head, brother.
The shit he did when the bullshit that he spewed on Opie Anthony's podcast about that fucking, she slipped and fell on a rock. I tried to get her to the hospital. Then why is Vince McMahon fucking bringing a suitcase full of money into the fucking police station and then you walk away and he doesn't have the suitcase? Why is it like a month before that, 7 fucking police officers are in a fucking motel dragging her out of there and holding you down? But you deserve to be in the Hall of Fame.
Vince territoried the police on that one. You know, he did what he did with the territories. He went in with a briefcase full of money and
payoff. Yeah,
rest is history.
Let me ask you this, guys, though, and perception versus reality. If any one of you were in that same position and your boss walked into the station, would you say, "No, I'm good"?
Well, I wouldn't kill my girlfriend first of all.
No.
Right. Avoid that.
If you're in the same situation, what do you do?
Well, I mean, what else could you do? I mean, Vince Jimmy Snuka said it himself, like the dumbass he was. He said he was like, Vince did all the talking, brother, and then it got handled.
And listen,
but I never touched that woman.
It's the same as seeing and hearing something and saying nothing about it. Even though you know the right thing to do, would be to say and do something about it, but you keep your mouth shut.
Well, and the unfortunate thing about that is that he wouldn't this probably wouldn't have been known if the story would have been brought up and if Jimmy wouldn't have said anything in his book. It
was brought up.
We don't need to get into Jimmy Snuka.
It was in the paper. It was there. Everybody saw
it.
it.
It was there. Yeah, no, the autopsy wasn't really everything was there, but it's just Jimmy was a dumbass,
And, we all can see that in the mid-'80s and stuff like that, there was a lot of things that was said and done. How much of it, though? We're talking 40 years ago, ballpark. And to all these things that come out, I've always looked at it like this. Your burden of proof and evidence, some people are still, yes, Snuka got convicted of it. But
No, he didn't, because he wasn't mentally fucking stable enough.
I thought he got convicted, but he couldn't go to jail because
he was arrested and charged. He was never convicted. So the family will never get the fucking justice they deserve.
Well, by the time they charged him, his brain was fucking scrambled eggs at that point. He was,
and he had bladder cancer.
And he had bladder cancer,
The presumption of innocence until proven guilty, perception reality. Until you're proven guilty of anything in this country, the media has no right to keep saying I don't know if the media lost the right to use the word alleged. There is no word alleged anymore. Listen, December 11th.
All the fucking time, Gerard. We talk about it all the fucking time. There's something to be said that until someone is fucking arrested and charged and there's evidence against them, that's bullshit. Because
December 11th, you're going to see two guys. December 11th, you're going to see two guys get retried. And not retried, resentenced. On December 11th, you're going to see two guys get resentenced.
Melendez brothers.
Now, is it right that they're going to be resentenced because new evidence came out for the crime that they were committed of doing? 30 years ago, new evidence came into play. 30 years after the crime, 35 years after the crime, almost.
Man, they shot their mom in the face, and Joe Exotic is in prison because some fucking some bullshit. That's some. It's like, this country.
The thing about it, though, Gerard, is look, I don't know the whole thing about the Melendez brothers. I've been trying to keep up with it when I can, but as far as the Melendez brothers go, I don't think that anybody should suffer unless they're a fucking criminal. I see constantly guys spending 20 years of their lives behind bars, and there's enough evidence now because of future fucking forensics and things they figure out that they shouldn't have spent a fucking 20 minutes in fucking prison. But if there's enough to say that, hey, maybe we should take a look at this, I'm all for it.
Hey, listen, Betty will understand this. Charlie Manson was never technically convicted of every. He never actually pulled the trigger, but he was there for every one of those murders.
Manson was the mastermind. He controlled those people.
Being the mastermind of it, okay? Yeah. It's that's the key. But being able to convict the mastermind. Think about his followers were ready to take a guillotine for that guy.
Oh yeah,
and have him basically walk away.
Jim Jones, David Koresh, they did all the same thing.
To do stuff like that, and when some people talk about what goes on in the professional wrestling industry, it's wait,
turn around that. Me and Benny were talking before we came live. Benny, what did you say? That Vince McMahon said that they are all willing to still wrestle, even though their fucking beloved friend had just fallen 20 fucking feet to the ground, splattered on a fucking canvas and blood all over it. Oh, right. They still wanted to wrestle.
Yeah, right. And I got Swampland down here to sell you as well, right?
Well, let me ask you. And I heard Monty say something like this, and you ever notice? And he was totally right. When all these independent wrestlers come on, they could have wrestled one match in WWE. Now they call themselves, I'm a glorified WWE wrestler. They could have only wrestled one match as an independent guy, but now they're all WWE guys.
You talking about like Paul Roma?
Somebody like a Mario Mancini too.
Paul calls himself a superstar.
Right. Okay. To where, hey, you were a jobber. One was a career jobber. One worked his way into being a jobber.
Hey man, I still see every now and then. Here in Arizona, we have Kazarni. He does a lot of appearances here.
Sin Bodhi.
Yep, Sin Bodhi, and he's say what you want, but he was only on.
Kills me about that guy. The hype, all the gimmicks, all the program, all the shit they set up. One fucking match.
He had one match, and
match.
Say what you want. That guy is fucking awesome.
But he is more over. But he did more work and was more successful than Paul Roma.
Hey Benny, you know what the sad part is with a guy like Mario Mancini? His claim to fame, he was Undertaker's very first opponent. That's his claim to fame. And the match happened, and it lasted for about 3
plus years. He has that signature win over the Stanford Stomper, Tony Altimore, who was 83 at the time. Can't forget that one.
That'd be like beating Bullet Bob Evans too, okay?
Hey, to be fair, I had a tussle in a back alley with Joey Von Erich, the most less-known Von Erich. He didn't make it to TV, but me and him got in because we were fighting over a sandwich. But I got him, and I pinned him for the 1, 2, 3.
Because you ain't going to let a man take your sandwich there, Bluto Matowski. Right. Hey, Benny, I'm sorry. You're dealing with a guy who has a 0.0.
Great point average.
Yes.
Like John Blutarski.
That's we try to keep Dan on double secret probation. He doesn't know it.
I can't help it.
Has no great point average. All incomplete.
Again, but as much as there is a lot of negativity, like the perception that these people fucking put out there is that wrestling is full of a bunch of bullshit. Wrestling is the reason why we're here, right? I mean, wrestling is the reason why I'm sitting here talking to Gerard Millette. Wrestling is the reason why me and Jacob became fucking friends in the first place, years ago. But again, and I say it offline all the time, and I talk to Gerard, and I'm so grateful for fucking knowing him because he never wanted to shut up. But we had a whole conversation that went 3+ hours, and I just talking to him and that love he still has. And I want to ask you, Benny, you've been watching wrestling for years. You're still, like you said, you do it now as a habit. Why? What is it about wrestling that makes you fucking just want to come? Even though, look, it is what it is. You still come back.
Well, I mean, to be honest, I kind of feel like I'm in a time warp because the way I got into this whole thing was I started writing for Pro Wrestling Stories. I think I have 34 published stories. They're all about, the Iron Mike Sharp, Koloff, Johnny Roz, Jimmy Hart, Bruno, all those guys. And, that got me on a podcast. And most of my podcast is old school. But I can't, even though I don't get, I get a different enjoyment now. I mean, yes, I do watch it out of habit, but I still enjoy it. It's just I don't feel the same as I felt. Like my very first show, believe it or not, was in 1968 at the Island Garden in Hempstead, New York. I saw Bruno defend his title against Toru Tanaka, and at the end they were running off the ropes. They collided, and it felt and it sounded like an earthquake. And my heart was in my throat, thinking, "Oh God, what if Bruno doesn't get up by 10?" And of course he did. But the sad thing is, I'll never feel that way again. But I still love it.
And I think I get that because I envy Jacob because Jacob still has these moments where he can still enjoy stuff. Again, he was watching in the Cena era. I grew up in the fucking sportatorium shit. Gerard was watching when Jesus was fighting Moses for the fucking world heavyweight title. It's almost like a drug, and you're chasing the dragon.
It is, yeah, absolutely.
I want to put out something to you, Dan. Okay, my actual favorite moment, believe it or not, up until maybe the Austin era, was watching Hogan in Rocky III. That. Other than the fact that I think it was his best match he wrestled.
Thunderlips.
But I can still watch that part.
The ultimate meatball.
Yes, I can still watch that part of that movie and get goosebumps just because of the fact it's like, it's a script and stuff like that, but it's like, how much of that script actually applied to his character? And, when you heard that music, because it's still the most recognized entrance music there is. You hear that first chord, forget it. Okay, you hear it, you forget. It's like other than the glass breaking. Rick Derringer
Right,
says all the time.
To be fair, if Jacob hears apple dough, he's gonna fucking mark out like a motherfucker.
But,
I mean, yeah. To me, I've always been I'm a big CM Punk fan more than I was a Cena fan. But I was also a big Cena fan though. But for me, like Dan was saying, like nowadays for me, I haven't really had a moment where I had like a good a big mark out moment in wrestling like in quite some time. I think maybe the closest thing was when probably the Hardy Boys came back at WrestleMania 33. Like that was probably a big mark out moment. And then when CM Punk came back to WWE, that was a good moment too.
well,
but
that's because you were still in diapers when they came back.
It's like when Bray Wyatt won the WWE title like at the Elimination Chamber. Like that was a great moment for me, and I'll still remember that.
You guys, you know what's funny is we're actually talking to a guy who actually remembers wrestling when there was no entrance music.
Oh yeah.
Let me ask you this, Benny. I know that is kind of habit, whatever, what have you, but is there anybody in the business right now that you think could maybe get you to a point where you're excited again? Like, oh, I gotta watch it. And it's not that I have to because of my job or because I do a podcast. I need to see what he's gonna do next.
Honestly, two things. I really got drawn into the Drew McIntyre Punk feud.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was very well done. But I mean, Gunther, week in and week out. I mean, I watched the guy, and it reminds me of when I was younger and when I watched it in a totally different way. The guy he's totally legitimate.
Absolutely. Like he's a throwback to like, and again, I go what you said earlier. We talked about Kowalski. We talked about Bruno. Like there was a time when these guys were gods, and there was no stronger man. I think I look back at the old videos I watched of fucking Buddy Rogers and how I wanted someone to punch him in the fucking face to a nicer guy.
It couldn't happen. Yeah.
Like, go ahead, Drug.
Benny, you remember this. Remember when Rugged Ronnie Garvin and Greg Valentine were having their feud?
Oh, yeah.
How much does Gunther remind you of Rugged Ronnie Garvin?
That's another guy that I loved. When he feuded with Flair and he knocked his ass out on TV, I knew the score as far as wrestling, but I still pop for that.
Yeah, and to get the storylines, the right storylines, to get the right guys to do those storylines and to come across as so legitimate, it's an appreciation of the business to where, unfortunately, some guys who are in the business don't appreciate it. You don't need to be an ex-wrestler to appreciate the business. You don't need to be.
Well, according to Bully Ray, though, we're not even supposed to be talking about wrestling because we never wrestle.
Hey, the good part about either one of those two jamokes, I would challenge either one of them to talk to me. Because guess what? I was around when one of you, you jobbed. You were happy for your 3 minutes of work. You got paid your $150. See you tomorrow, guy.
Right.
Okay. And Paul, like I said, they had to keep finding him to stay in tag teams because he couldn't do it on his own. What did that go to say for him? Look and see. You can probably look up and see how long of a career he had on his own, without nobody around him and no tag team. He didn't last.
Yeah, because they put him with Jim Powers, then they put him with Hercules, goes to WCW. They put him with Orndorff, and then they put him with the Horsemen.
He could not last on his own.
He couldn't get over with any of them.
And to be fair, even Jeff Jarrett was more accepted than fucking Paul Roma. Flair will go back and say he had a fucking blast with Jarrett, but he just washes his hands. He won't even look. God rest his soul, Sid Justice. He didn't, whatever happened with him and Arn, whatever. But he was still a Horseman, and he was a respected member of the Horsemen. Paul Roma is the only one that universally every one of them goes, that's the one we wish we didn't have, and that's saying something. You've had some mediocre Horsemen, but that's the only one that everyone is in agreement. That's the guy. Nobody want nothing to do with that guy. But he's going to dictate to you, me, Monty, anybody, Gerard, Jacob, you can't do a podcast because you never put on fucking skinny tights and went there and looked like a jackass.
You know what? And Paul, and you never spent 8 hours at the freaking building watching your dumbass perform in a ring, right? get there, set up the ring, wait for your dumbass to do it, then come and have to take that damn ring down, and you not appreciate the business as much as I did.
And their question: who did they ever beat? They probably beat themselves in the hotel room after the match. That's the only.
He was giving somebody the rub.
Yeah, exactly. Giving themselves the rub.
Yeah, it's like we got to title this podcast now "The Rub." You know, that's what we're going to title this episode, "The Rub."
But I feel like he's one of those guys who would actually get a hotel with a fucking full length mirror so he could sit there and go, "Look at me, I'm so great." Look, just lotioning himself because that's just the kind of guy he comes off as. He comes off as a real fucking douche.
You know, there's something to be said about that. And that's what I said. He comes across. He's one of the bitter ex-wrestlers who threw his career away.
We got to stop talking about fucking Paul Roma. He's taking over our whole fucking shit. He got us, Gerard.
They had to do was put on the Wonderkin.
No, hey, listen. We don't need to mention somebody by name to talk about him. You keep bringing up the name. I haven't mentioned the name.
Fuck Mercedes Monet.
Yeah, Mercedes sucks, man.
Hey, another one. Okay. You know, like I told you guys, there's another one. Her in-ring ability since she went to AEW has hit rock bottom.
It's been rock bottom since she left WWE. I mean, it's always kind of been bad.
Because we already have a beef with her. Let's ask fucking Benny. Benny, I trust your judgment. You've been doing this for a long fucking time. You've been invested in wrestling. What is your opinion on Mercedes Monet?
She's an annoying purple-headed skank hoe.
Oh, hey, we didn't ask you to tell you how you really feel.
With that annoying voice, like she just drank a quart of eggnog.
CEO, CEO. That's a fucking just Jesus.
Well, you know, hey, I love the honesty where you don't pull a punch on it because you're at the age. You're probably at your age. You're like, I don't give a shit. What are you gonna do?
You lose your filter as you get older.
Well, my thing with her is this though.
Both ways though, Benny. I heard you lose your filter both ways, in the mouth and the other end.
Yeah, you do. You do.
I will say this: like, if she was, if it was her mic work that was a thing, I would say just that. It's not just her mic work. She hasn't had a fucking decent match since she fucking wrestled Bayley in Hell in the Cell. And it goes back to tell you, Charlotte carried her to her best matches. Bayley carried her to her best matches. You know, she had a decent match with someone like Emi Sakurai, but that woman's been in the business as long as Gerard's been alive. So, fuck.
She broke her own leg wrestling Willow Nightingale. Like that. What else needs to be said?
Don't you ever talk ill of Willow Nightingale.
Oh, no. On the contrary, I love Willow Nightingale.
Willow Nightingale brings the happy. I don't know what it is about her. I love Willow Nightingale. She's just fucking...
Yes, very. I love her very much so. But no, Mercedes is terrible. Probably the worst signing of AEW's whole history, just because of how nothing, like, just of how, like, not relevant.
She can't even connect with the fans right now. She can't connect.
No one cares. Nobody cares. And it's just like she has like 4 belts right now, and she's bringing Camille down. You know, Camille was in fucking Ecuador.
That girl, I think, is going to be something.
Yeah, Camille was in fucking Ecuador for like fucking 2 years, while Tony Khan just kept her on the sidelines. Because Camille has been signed with AEW for 2 years. I don't know if you guys know that.
What kills me is that and speaking about fucking holding people down. NXT, WWE has fucking, you have Stephanie Vaquer, you have Delta, you have fucking Julia, you have fucking the Prodigy, fucking Roxanne Perez, who's amazing in the ring. You have Gigi Dolan. You have all these fucking females.
Oh, God damn it, I love Gigi Dolan.
It's not like just look. I'll be the first to say they're beautiful women and whatever you may say, but they can fucking go. And you bring those two up to fucking Crown Jewel. You brought those 2 girls. I'm sorry. That was disappointing to me. You could have brought Roxanne and her fucking partner. I keep forgetting her fucking name.
Cora Jade.
You could have brought those 2 up.
They would have been too covered up for me. I wouldn't have liked it.
But you could have brought those 2, and what a match you could have had. Instead, you bring these 2. I don't understand that. I don't get logic.
I'll tell you why, and you'll understand this. You're not going to have a champion lose a match.
She didn't have to take the pin.
It doesn't matter. You don't have a champion lose a match.
Fine, then you bring Julia and Stephanie Vaquer.
Yeah, I'm just saying, to have a champion lose lose any match. You don't do that. That just makes them that makes them look weak, though.
Julia's great, by the way. Just throwing it out there. Love Julia.
That being said, next week we do have plans to talk about. So Cody Rhodes came out recently and said basically people are turning it to say that he's saying it's okay to body shame people. Personally, I don't give a fuck. If I'm built like Bastion Booger, you better call me a fat ass. That's my gimmick. Whatever it may be. But we also have the idea that, look, you don't have to be a fucking $1 million body to put up $1 million work. So next week we're going to be talking about that. We're going to be comparing people like Dusty Rhodes and people like fucking Jesse the Body Ventura. And what is the right way to go with that? That being said, we're coming up to that 2-hour mark. Benny, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, my pleasure.
We hope a fucking speedy recovery to Monty after being jumped by fucking Mancini and Paul Roma outside of that IHOP.
Whataburger, yeah, whatever it was.
He's recovering with Shawn Michaels.
I hope he found God. So it worked for Sean. So that being said, you guys, as always, it's a blast and a pleasure. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you guys for coming in. Benny, thank you again for being here. I'm Dan. That is the inside man, Gerard Millette. That is the modern day Jaharaja, fucking Jacob McGovern. We are the Marks, and we'll see you next week.
I am not a